And Jazz, Donovan Mitchell soared. Spectacular alley-oop slam.
Catches with one hand, dunks with both. That's really nice by Donovan. You see that, see? Yeah, I fell asleep last night, just like that commercial.
Rockets
Thunder. I was trying, man. I ate too much food, too much entertainment.
James Harden throws it sick between the legs pass to Clint Capella, who finishes N1.
We'll talk more about him later, but James Harden the last 2.5 weeks has been playing at an unbelievable level.
Yeah, the NBA season didn't start for him at Christmas.
Sixers Celtics. Joel Embiid gets the ball stolen from him, but doesn't quit on the play. Gets a chase down block on Jaylen Brown.
Joel Embiid was excellent yesterday. Sixers very good until the very end, once again against this Celtics team. But Joel... Oh, yeah, he ain't going to let you go take
That's the first big game he's had against the Celtics in a while because Horford has kind of had his number in that matchup.
This one's for you, C. A rare sighting, a Ben Simmons jump shot.
Nice form. Look at that. Now, he had to. He had no choice.
Oh, really?
But this, because the shot clock's winding down. But it does beg the question, why didn't he do it more? Just a little bit more.
Because he can't make them, Nick.
Well, I mean,
there's a reason why he's not shooting. Because he's not good at it.
That
one right there, he was forced to shoot that.
I'd like to see him try it a little bit more often.
Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers.
Typically, when you're shooting cracks and it don't go in, you try not to shoot during the game.
The Steelers face a must-win game against the Bengals this weekend. Let me explain how that works. They must win if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, that is. In addition to the win, they would also need some help, needing the Browns to upset the very hot Baltimore Ravens. Head coach Mike Tomlin says his team can only take care of what's ahead of them. Take a listen.
Really, we just focus on the things that are within our control, and from that perspective, it's no different than any other week. We better handle business in our stadium. There are things going on in other stadiums that could affect us, but there are things going on in other stadiums every weekend that could affect our positioning. We better focus on the task at hand, the things that are within our control, and that's our preparation and play as we push into Heinz Field on Sunday. That will be the message.
All right, CC, if you look back over this Steelers season, is there one thing you can point to? And what's the one thing that has maybe led to where they are right now, which has become somewhat of a disappointing season for Steelers?
Well, I think from a philosophy standpoint, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have kind of gone off the path that has really made them successful. And it's really hard not to do, especially in the season for which I think that they took Le'Veon Bell for granted. Like, they didn't expect him to miss the whole season, but they just took his overall talent and what he's able to bring to the game. Because you look at all the games that they lost, how much of a factor he would have been. Now, James Conner had a spectacular season for himself, but he's a good player right now. He's not an elite player like L. Bell is. So which in turn, when you take him for granted and you franchise him and then you can't come to some type of terms, it sends a negative message to the locker room. Look how it had that locker room fracture. You got offensive linemen doing interviews, shout outs about the running back who doesn't care about them. That's unheard of in the NFL. So for me, when they did that, then it also led to they're going to be an offense led by Ben Roethlisberger. So which in turn, they're going to throw the football. And if you look at the numbers Big Ben has, they are astounding as far as the number of times he's thrown the ball. Over the last 6 years, we've had a number. He's the 5th quarterback to throw over 600 passes. But then you see that guys are throwing. It's a trend. They're throwing the ball more. But look at the records. Look at the number of wins that these other quarterbacks have with Big Ben. Drew Brees, 7 wins. Flacco, 8. Phillip Rivers, 4. Drew Brees, 7. And they're one of the worst since we've had the merger as far as running the ball and passing the ball. And yeah, I know the rules and everything. They're favorable for the quarterbacks. They're favorable for the offenses. But as we have seen in November and December in the NFL, you have to play defense and you have to be able to run the football. So their overall philosophy, taking L. Bell for granted, then that overall contract dispute, which led into that locker room, and then now saying we're just going to turn the offense over to Ben and allowing him to throw the ball, to me, it prevents them from being a physical team. They're an outdoor team, and they got good wide receivers, but their lack of development, I would say the last thing of James Washington. Because if you're not going to run the ball, you need another third guy, and they drafted him, put a high draft pick on him. He didn't develop the way they've had their other wide receivers develop. So I would say those, from a philosophy standpoint, turning this offense over to Ben Roethlisberger, following the trend that the NFL has done, If you throw it 600 times, you're not going to win more than half of your games. The Pittsburgh Steelers are just like those other teams that decided to do that, and these are the results that all of them have gotten.
To me, it all starts with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell, and if Le'Veon Bell was there, would they have blown a 16-point lead at home against the Chargers? No,
almost impossible.
Because they'd have been running the football. If Le'Veon Bell was there, would Big Ben lead the NFL in red zone interceptions? No, because they'd be running it more at the goal line. If Le'Veon Bell was there, would they have had such a shattered locker room to start the season to where they tie the Browns, a Browns team that was very different beginning of the year than now? They had a different coach, different coordinator, and game one, a different quarterback. They had Tyrod Taylor still playing for him. Like, yes, this is a very disappointing year for Pittsburgh. But if they had won one more game, they would be in the first in their division, controlling their own fate to make the playoffs. If they had won 2 more games, they would be controlling their own fate for a bye. So the margins are very thin. 8-6-1, very disappointing. 10-4-1, saying if we win the final game of the year against Jeff Driscoll in Cincinnati, we get the 2 seed.
And Nick, how close were some of those games in December where they could have used a running back like Le'Veon Bell, decided by 3 points or less?
Right, you blow the game to the Raiders. You blow, in my mind, blow the game to the Saints. I didn't even mention that one earlier.
Right.
You lose the lead against the Chargers.
Yes.
You lose the game against Denver. Like, so I've heard a lot of announcers this year during the game say it's been a bad year for pending free agent running backs because we're seeing guys that are no-name guys come out of the woodwork and play really well. I feel totally differently. I think we see with Le'Veon Bell the impact a truly special player has on his team. I think we're seeing in Kansas City with Kareem Hunt the impact a truly special player like Damian Williams come in and put up a lot of numbers.
Well,
He's
it's
not
also
the same guy.
It's also, you can't compare those running back situations because they have elite talent at tight end and or wide receiver. So you are an elite running back in a wide open offense that makes you respect the passing game. So every situation is not going to be like Kansas City or Pittsburgh. So running backs, they are important. You can do it by committee, but in Pittsburgh and in Kansas City, for a number of different reasons, both of those players are elite. Elite running backs can't be replaced by a committee.
Let me ask you a question, C. If the Steelers lose and they don't make the playoffs, is it on the board that there's a head coaching change in Pittsburgh?
Every NFL team except the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes. The Pittsburgh Steelers, that's not how they've done business. They're not having a losing season. It's not Mike Tomlin's fault. Mike Tomlin didn't decide to not give L. Bell a contract. He's dealing with what he's got to be able to deal with. Like, he didn't expect L. Bell and his agent to decide to take the stance for which they were going to take. No. So some of this is Mike Tomlin's fault because he's the head guy. But based on the way the ownership, the way they've treated their coach, no. Mike Tomlin is one of the best in the league. When you start getting down to a situation like this, look at how many players on Pittsburgh are having a subpar season. All right, I'm talking about their elite players. They're having a subpar season. How much of a role do they play in this? It's easy to look at the coach, but Mike Tomlin is one of the best in the business. Now, what I don't like is I don't like that they're not good on defense and haven't been good the last year and a half or so. I don't like that fact of him being a defensive coach and the personnel that they have. They should be better. But Mike Tomlin deserves the right to be the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers because he's one of the best in the business. And this is what I can guarantee you. If you fire Mike Tomlin, you know you're going to make 3 people really happy. Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. And
I'll add more to that list. Any team with a head coaching opening that's like, oh, wait, maybe we can get Mike Tomlin as our head coach. They get happy as well. Like, a down year for the Steelers and Tomlin is going to end up being 9-6-1 and likely a half game out of the playoffs. Now, Baker and the Browns might upset the Ravens and the Steelers find their way in there. But even if they do that, it's still a disappointing down year. But we've talked about this before. It's not only that I think Mike Tomlin's one of the 5 best coaches in football. It's that the Steelers have had 3 coaches since Lyndon B. Johnson was president. Like, they do not make rash decisions. If they were 3-13, I think he could survive 1 year at that. He definitely can survive in 8 or 9
But the star players in Pittsburgh now, they are underachieving as a group. All right? You can say how good they are, how elite they are. Antonio, Yes, it has not gotten the type of results. Ben has not gotten the type of results in the last 5 years. They should have been more a part of Super Bowl conversations compared to Mike Tomlin, is he going to lose his job conversations.
Lev Bell got great results on that jet ski, so don't count him out. Coming up, can Kyrie's performance turn around the Celtics season? Back to basketball next. First things first.
Jen, I've seen you tooling around on a jet ski before.
Yeah.
You were in a little contract hold.